"Get out of my house, Abigail." Mrs. Donald's voice cut through the air like a knife. The room was silent, everyone holding their breath. Chike's mother stared hard at Abigail. Chike stood in the middle, feeling stuck, but he knew he couldn't stop what was about to happen. Chike's father sat quietly in the corner, his face unreadable. Abigail's parents were standing near the door, looking shocked and helpless. No one had expected the night to turn into this, a showdown that would change everything. Once upon a time, in the vibrant city of Port Harcourt, there lived two lovers named Chike and Abigail. Chike had always known his mother didn't like Abigail. Abigail wasn't from the kind of family Mrs. Donald had wanted for her son. She wasn't rich. Her father was a mechanic, and her mother sold fruits at the market. They were good people, but in Mrs. Donald's eyes, they weren't good enough for her son. Abigail had grown up in a small house with her parents and 3 siblings. She knew what it meant to struggle, to work for everything she had, but she also knew love, and she loved Chike with all her heart. Chike didn't care about Abigail's background. She was everything he wanted: kind, hardworking and honest. She didn't pretend to be something she wasn't. He admired that about her, but his mother didn't see it that way. The night of the dinner was supposed to be a step toward peace. Chike had asked his parents and Abigail's parents to meet. He thought it would help, that maybe his mother would finally see what he saw in Abigail, but things had quickly gone out of control. He started with small comments about Abigail and her family. "I'm sure you've never eaten food like this before," Mrs. Donald had said with a fake smile. Abigail had smiled politely, trying to keep the peace. But when Chike's father, Mr. Donald, asked Abigail about her plans for the future, Mrs. Donald couldn't hold back any longer. Plans? What kind of plan can she have? She works in a cafe, for goodness sake. The room went cold. Chike had tried to calm his mother down, but it was too late. The tension had built. Abigail's father, Mr. Okeke, had stepped forward to defend his daughter, his voice firm but respectful. "Abigail may not have wealth, but she has heart. She has strength. Isn't that what matters?" But Mrs. Donald wasn't listening. She only saw what Abigail didn't have: money, status and influence. She didn't see what Chike saw: the love and loyalty Abigail gave him every day. "I won't let you ruin my son's future," Mrs. Donald shouted, her voice shaking with anger. "You and your family will never be good enough for us." Chike's father, usually a quiet man, finally spoke. "Enough, Ada." His voice was calm but carried weight. He looked at his wife with tired eyes. "This is not how we handle things." Mrs. Donald turned to her husband with anger. "How else should we handle it, Chide? Our son is throwing his life away for this girl." Mr. Donald didn't respond. He only looked at Chike and said, "Do you love her, son?" Chike's throat was tight, but he spoke clearly. "I do, Dad. More than anything." Just when everyone thought the fight was about to calm down, Chike swayed on his feet, struggling to breathe, and within seconds he collapsed. Abigail screamed, "Chike!" She rushed to his side, her heart pounding, trying to wake him up. Panic spread through the room as everyone crowded around him. Mrs. Donald's anger turned to fear as she bent beside her son. "Chike! What's happening?" An ambulance arrived in what felt like hours, but it had only been minutes. They rushed Chike to the hospital. The atmosphere thick with fear. Abigail rode in the back of the ambulance, holding Chike's hand the whole way. His breathing was shallow. She didn't know what to do, but she refused to leave his side. When they arrived at the hospital, the doctors took Chike in immediately. They suspected a heart condition, a condition that had been undetected for years. Abigail, now sitting in the waiting area with her parents, couldn't stop shaking. Mrs. Donald's eyes were red, her anger gone, replaced by fear. She wouldn't even look at Abigail. Hours later, the doctor came out, his expression serious. "Chike's condition is stable, but he will need surgery soon," he said. "It's good you got him here in time." Abigail closed her eyes, relief washing over her, but the tension wasn't gone. She could feel Mrs. Donald's cold stare burning into her. She knew things hadn't changed. Not yet. The hospital days were long and difficult. Chike's condition required constant monitoring, and the surgery was risky. Mrs. Donald barely spoke to Abigail, while Mr. Donald began to notice the quiet dedication Abigail showed towards his son. She was there every day. She didn't sleep much, and when she wasn't checking on Chike, she was talking to the doctor. Abigail's parents came and went, offering support when they could, but Abigail never left. One night, Mr. Donald found Abigail sitting by Chike's bed, her eyes red from crying, but still wide open watching over him. And he said quietly, "You are not leaving, are you?" Abigail shook her head. "I can't," she said. "I love him so much." Mr. Donald sighed, his expression softening. "You are a strong woman, Abigail. Don't let anyone make you feel less than that." She looked at him, surprised by his words. "Thank you," she said, her voice barely audible. As the surgery day approached, the tension between Abigail and Mrs. Donald hit its peak. Mrs. Donald still wouldn't speak to her, and the air was thick with unspoken words. But something changed after the surgery. When Chike finally woke up, weak but alive, Abigail was the first person he asked for. And it was in that moment, standing in the hospital room with her son asking for the girl she had fought so hard against, that Mrs. Donald saw the truth. Abigail wasn't trying to take Chike away. She wasn't after his money or his name. She just loved him, and in the end, that was enough. Few weeks later, after Chike was discharged from the hospital, the wedding day came, and it was everything Abigail and Chike had dreamed of. It wasn't a grand affair, but it was beautiful. Abigail's parents cried tears of joy, proud of the daughter they had raised. Chike's father smiled warmly, finally at peace with his son's choice. Even Mrs. Donald, though still a bit distant, had softened. She stood quietly, watching her son marry someone she once swore he would never be with. And for the first time in a long time, she smiled. A small soft smile, but a smile nonetheless. Love had won, but it hadn't been easy. There had been battles, tears and long nights of doubt, but in the end, they were all here together, and that was all that mattered. If you like the story, please don't forget to subscribe, like, comment and share. Thank you for watching. Bye.